So pre-combine, Adonai Mitchell was going, somewhere from like the 202 to the 206 normally in our mock drafts, and he has flown up our rankings. He has to. I mean, he's looking at first-round draft capital at this point. 6'4", 205, and he ran a 4.34. And I don't want to double count. And I see this thing about double counting, and I actually think it's a good point. A lot of times we know guys are fast, and then they perform fast at the combine, and they double count. But with Adonai Mitchell, like, also an 11.4 broad jump, like, and a 9.97 RAS.
That's ridiculous.
It's absurd. So we know Adonai Mitchell's an athletic freak. And the funny thing is, and I do think this is kind of funny, is everybody on Twitter is like, oh, keep sleeping. I told you so.
We always knew.
My guy. We always knew.
He's going at the end of the first already.
Pretty much everybody likes Adonai Mitchell. I mean, I don't think he's a sleeper.
No.
But it also doesn't take away Adonai Mitchell's questions. However, if it does guarantee him the draft capital that he's being talked about after yesterday, I think it would be safe to say Adonai Mitchell's somebody that's going to be going in the first round. We'll have a mock draft that's already come out, and you saw where he went in that mock draft. And so obviously he's going up our boards a little bit. But Adonai Mitchell, crazy athletic performance. Don't want to get too hyped up because it doesn't take away from his issues that he does have in what are his liabilities or what were his liabilities at Texas. Now, if he'll be able to develop through those, we'll see. That being said, big weekend for him. And Xavier Worthy broke the record for the 40.
I honestly, I thought it would be a long time until that was ever broken, let alone by Xavier Worthy. Like, we knew that Xavier Worthy was kind of a speedster. He was small. He was going to have a good 40 time to really move up boards or to be, considered a consistent second-round wide receiver because he measures out at 165 pounds. Like, that's Tank Dell small.
It went
plus
two
a few
waves.
inches.
They did the weigh-ins, and everybody was like, Xavier Worthy, it's over, blah, blah, blah.
He's dead.
And then he ran the 40.
4.21.
People were like, oh, he did what?
I mean, we all felt, not we meaning Avery and I, but like everyone fell in love with Devon Achane last year when he had like
we should have
a 4.3 240, and now we're looking at Xavier Worthy with a 4.21. Like, it's ridiculous.
So I'm looking at Xavier Worthy's RAS. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's in the 9s or it's in the high 8s. And
yeah, he had a really good vertical. He had a 41-inch vertical.
And so
which was higher than AD Mitchell.
Yeah, that's nuts, by the way. 41 inches from Worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at his RAS. Luke put the RAS card on the screen for me. And you notice the only red on this card is his size, his weight, and his height.
Yep.
And so you think he does everything well.
Yep.
He's a good receiver.
Yep.
He's doesn't have the most diverse route tree, but definitely workable there. You could definitely build on what he has. And he's crazy athletic, but we look at his size and we're going to short him because of that. I think we've learned our lesson. Somebody said, oh, well, Xavier Worthy's no Tank Dell. I know Tank Dell ran like a 4.49 or something like that. But he's not Tank Dell. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to go in the first round of the NFL draft at this point. I do.
All right.
I think
I would love to see that.
I think he goes
super duper
picks
would.
26 through 32.
Be a better MVS for the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, he'd be
32nd
overall. Or
Please.
he'll go beginning of the second. Either way, in Dynasty rookie drafts, obviously, this is going to take a stock up. I mean, actually, just a little bit maybe, because we had him usually at the 2-1, like the 1-2 turn. He's still going to go there.
There is still a big group of people, and including us to an extent, that have questions about people whose measurables are questionable, especially wide receivers that are on the smaller side. However, I think we're starting to slowly move away from that as we've seen more and more what used to be considered outliers just in the last couple of years from a size perspective. Xavier Worthy could be one of those guys, and honestly, when you look at the small, like Marvin Mims was a small guy last year, and everyone's going to say, a lot of people are going to say, Xavier Worthy's just going to be the next Marvin Mims. He's going to be that field stretcher, that perpetual wide receiver 2 or 3 on his team.
He could.
It's
maybe landing spot dependent.
It's very landing spot dependent. So yeah, some of this is wait and see, but just maybe we're being a little biased here because we've liked Xavier Worthy for a long time. But to me, this just solidifies where I think he's going to be drafted, which is that
1 to 2 turns.
So,
yeah. And also, part of the reason he's not going any higher than that is because you had guys like Brian Thomas Jr. yesterday who absolutely lit it up, who solidified that 1.8 that we've been talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, he came out as a 6'3", 209 measurable. He ran a 4.33. So he's
at 6'3"?
So he's twice as tall and twice as heavy as Devon Achane and ran the same. It was awesome to see him do this. He had a real good broad jump as well. I think it was like 10.
Yeah, it was good.
10 foot 8 inch or something. I don't know. It was pretty good for what he did. A lot more than we expected him to do from a measurable perspective, from a speed perspective at the combine. And honestly, he was already being ranked pretty high in our rookie mock drafts and things like that, our rankings, that I don't know how much higher he's going to be able to jump. I think if anything, Brian Thomas could jump up a couple spots and maybe go ahead of consistently like your Bo Nix's or JJ McCarthy's or Michael Penix's, depending on what you think about him. But I don't think he's going to get to like that 6'7" range, 106, 107 in super
some
flex
drafts
formats.
he may. I feel like the hype is getting to be to the point where people are
like
going.
Where people would take him over Bowers.
Yes, for sure, Bowers, but also Rome. People are saying
You think Rome?
No, I don't think Rome.
Because
people think Rome, and I think it's dumb.
I agree.
Brian Thomas, I mean, I would put him in the tier below Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze, who, by the way, I would have in the same tier now. But that is not. You are going to have people, because of the hype, take Brian Thomas over Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze had an amazing day yesterday, by the way.
Yeah,
it's nothing to forget about, because again, that's a guy that had a really, really solid day.
Did you see him staying extra long to try to get the 3-cone time?
Yeah, the 6 or whatever. Yeah,
that was funny.
I did see that.
Yeah, the one thing that we have learned, I think, over the years with the NFL Combine is running backs measurables in 40 times in general matter a lot more than like your wide receivers. Running backs can like be completely irrelevant if they have like a 4.71 40 time like Audric Estime. If you have a wide receiver who has a really, really good 40 time, more than expected, or a really bad 40 time, like less than expected, like a Troy Franklin, who will probably be falling down boards now. I don't think Troy Franklin should be written off the board. Like, I still think he's a very good wide receiver, and he could still get good draft capital. Like, the film has not changed for these guys. What I think the most important thing is to see those outliers where, like, these guys really exceeded expectations, and these are the guys we're talking about. Ladd McConkey is another one of those guys who just exceeded expectations. We already knew that Ladd McConkey was a good wide receiver. We already liked his skill set for NFL teams going at the professional level, but to run a 4.39 40
as a white guy, heck yeah, dude.
Like, his skill set has honestly, in my mind, going into the NFL, I think has changed a little bit for what I think he's capable of doing. A lot of people, because of his size, because of his, quickness, but not like long speed, would say, hey, he's going to be a slot wide receiver. I'm not so sure he's going to be an exclusive slot wide receiver. I think he could have a lot more diverse route tree in the NFL more than a lot of people originally assumed.
I don't care if he is a slot wide receiver, though, because he'd be a good one.
Oh, he'd be a great one. Yeah, if he is,
Ladd
that's
McConkey's
fine,
a guy,
like,
and Nathan and I were talking about this before. Like, he's a guy now that's probably going to go fringe first, early second as well, because there are so many good receivers, guys. I tweeted out yesterday, late first got a huge boost in Dynasty this weekend, a huge boost, because Michael Penix also had a really good day. Michael Penix isn't even on here because he's not flying up our rankings, because we've had him ranked, top 12 the whole time. Michael Penix had an amazing day yesterday and also passed all of his medical tests. I mean, he
still sucks.
He was awesome yesterday. It is going to be interesting. This is definitely us against the field, because the field has him ranked in the 20s for most Dynasty creators. We are still top. He is top 15 for me easily. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. But you talked about running backs. Jalen Wright had an amazing day. A guy that wasn't really in any of our mock drafts a ton. Like, we had people asking about in the comments, and we're like, yeah, he's there.
Yeah,
but he
was just a wait and see guy. Like, we did, honestly, we had to see his measurables, and he will still be draft capital dependent. But, I mean, to have the second longest broad jump ever for a running back in, like, the history of running backs at the Combine when they do broad jumps, 11.2, like, that's really impressive. And I mean, from every drill that I saw him do, from the receiving drills to, just the agility stuff, they had a bunch of different things that they did there. He looked
he's an athlete.
pretty solid.
But again, we knew he was an athlete. We knew Adonai Mitchell was an athlete. We knew Jalen Wright was an athlete. However, you do wonder, Jalen Wright, if he falls into the right system, can he be a Devon Achane? Because Devon Achane fell into the right system and is very productive. Not that Devon Achane wasn't a fantastic prospects, but there's a reason he didn't go top 2 rounds.
Yeah. So post-combine, pre-draft, what have we learned about Jalen Wright? That he's basically taking the place of what we thought Audric Estime could be.
True. And Audric Estime, a guy who was not on this video because he's not flying up our rankings. No. And also, Trey Benson had a good day yesterday.
He very, very good day. He had basically the same 40 time as Jalen Wright, 4.39 compared to a 4.38. And from what I heard or didn't hear, I didn't hear anything negative about his medical test with his knee. Because remember all the Tyjae Spears stuff that came out last year? It was like he doesn't have an ACL.
The doctors were like looking at Tyjae Spears' knees and they're like, "Where's the knee?
Where's
your hold on?" And like, what's missing? His ACL's gone.
Yeah, and with all those concerns with Tyjae Spears, he still went in the 3rd round, day 2. Trey Benson is a more well-rounded running back, played at a very good school at Florida State, and is starting to get Breece Hall comps with pretty much every testing metric that he did at the NFL Combine. Are we saying that Trey Benson is Breece Hall? No, but when you're looking at the measurables with the Combine, like this is a guy that I can see realistically getting really solid draft capital day 2. At this point, I'm expecting late 2nd. That's really what I would hope for with him and his skill set, because I think he could be really, really valuable for a lot of teams that are in need of running back right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ricky Pearsall is another guy. He's more of a sleeper, but he's definitely a guy on people's radars because he has that crazy catch ability. And anytime we have highlight plays, guys like that, see Kadarius Toney, we tend to hype them up in Dynasty. So Ricky Pearsall has been getting a lot of buzz. He had a 9.54 RAS, which is very, very good. And Ricky Pearsall is a guy that I'm still not probably going to take in the top 20 picks. It's going to be somewhere from 20 to 35 for him still. But with that being said, a 4.41 40 time at 6'1", 190. I mean, that's good. That's good. We knew he was athletic, though, again. So Ricky Pearsall, guy now getting more hype, maybe more deserved attention because of his athletic ability. Again, we do need to see some of the questions that he has answered in the NFL. His draft capital is going to be interesting. I do think Ricky Pearsall probably lands in the 3rd or 4th round of the NFL draft. I think it was projected 5th or 6th. I think now it's going to go up a little bit. I think NFL teams will be more likely to take a shot on Ricky Pearsall. And Jalen McMillan also.
He was just very consistently solid across the board and really just did pretty much everything better than Jalen Polk. And that was the big discussion. A lot of people preferred Jalen Polk because he was an early declare. And from a measurable perspective, they're not that much different and they just like Polk a little bit more. That could still reign true. We got to see where they end up being drafted. But when you want to give the day to one of those guys, it's definitely Jalen McMillan. And he has been and will continue to be the guy that I prefer of those two.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tended to prefer Polk. Now I maybe prefer McMillan. I'm just still not sure there. It's going to be draft capital dependent. But look, he had 9.21 RAS yesterday. I mean, at the Combine yesterday. That was or 2 days ago.
And Polk wasn't bad. He just wasn't like, amazing.
And McMillan 4.49 40. His vertical is 37.
I thought he went 4.47. McMillan.
It says 4.49 on the RAS card.
Oh, okay. I wonder if that's the unofficial or if mine's the unofficial.
I was going to say yours is probably the unofficial.
Yeah.
Because usually the RAS guys use the official ones. Anyways, fairly good day from an athletic standpoint as well.
Yeah.
So
talk about Roman Wilson.
Oh, Roman Wilson.
I'll let you talk about Roman Wilson.
Roman Wilson's a guy that I have liked for a while. He's probably my favorite sleeper receiver in this class. Like he's in the Ricky Pearsall range to me.
Not like a day 3 sleeper where we know he's like just total dart throw, like a guy who could legitimately be drafted. We're both convinced in the 2nd round.
A guy who, in my opinion, is a guided dart throw.
A guarded dart throw.
Yeah,
guarded
shield
dart throw.
I like Roman Wilson a lot, and I think that he could translate as a slot receiver in the NFL, and I think he would be a good slot receiver. I think there is going to be a team that has the need for a Roman Wilson type skill set that drafts him and utilizes him to the point where he's a top 40 producing fantasy wide receiver one of the seasons in the NFL. Like, I don't think that's a bold take either. You're talking about him being a mid wide receiver 3 in his best season. I think that's true. So Roman Wilson's a guy that's probably going to be going in the 3rd or 4th round, probably 4th round of Dynasty rookie drafts. And he's just a guy I have my eye on. Yesterday, he had a fairly good day as well. He had a pretty good Senior Bowl. So I was kind of keeping an eye on him there, but he ran a 4.39 yesterday, which is really good for him. Honestly, he's just, again, we don't really do my guys. We like to analyze the data and pick out our guys from the data. But every once in a while, Nathan and I both have guys that we just really like. And Roman Wilson's one of those for me. And also Nathan likes him as well. So he's definitely going to be a domain guy this year. We're putting our stamp on him. But also had a decent day yesterday. And then on the tight end side of things, Jaheim Bell had a good day.
Jaheim Bell, yeah.
He
So
looked good.
he's not going to be the biggest guy, the tallest guy, but from a skill set perspective and a speed perspective, I mean, I think he had the second fastest 40 time among the tight ends in this class, and like the fastest among relevant tight ends. I think the guy that was the fastest, like, I don't think he was a big dude. I saw his time. I was like, oh, there's no way he's like going to be a realistic.
So Bowers didn't do anything yesterday, right?
No, he didn't do
Or Saturday.
much really at all.
Or Friday.
But Jaheim Bell, when you look at what he did at the combine testing out, he was very comparable to what George Kittle did. You're starting to hear a lot of like Jaheim Bell, George Kittle whispers. Again, how much does that really go for us? Not super far, because we're not trying to comp every single one of these guys to elite assets in the NFL. But again, when you're looking at the measurables, when you're looking at the speed, it's just something where you saw Jaheim Bell and envisioned him as what, probably the tight end 4 or 5 in this class. Yeah. And I think he's sitting pretty comfortably at this point as the tight end 3 behind JT Sanders and behind Brock Bowers. Honestly, there's an argument to be made that you could put Jaheim Bell and JT Sanders in the same tier if you wanted to, depending on eventual landing spot. We got to see where Jaheim Bell goes in the draft. We got to see what teams think about him ultimately. But he did everything he needed to do.
What was his 40 time?
Combine 4.61.
So I'm just looking because the only thing on his RAS card as we're recording this video, they haven't updated it yet, is his composite side grade, and it's very poor.
Yeah,
and
it's very. He is.
And
he is
I remembered a certain very athletic
Samuel Laporta
that had the same red spot on his RAS card, and we were like, oh no. And I remember because they're within an inch of height.
It doesn't matter if they're lining up as a wide receiver.
It doesn't. So Jaheim Bell, he's not a Sam Laporta. We're not saying that at all. But going to the right system, he definitely could be utilized in a more wide receiver.
He put his name on the board, which is good for him, because it's really just been all talk about Keon Coleman at Florida State and Johnny Wilson at Florida State, who's the huge 6'7" wide receiver that decided to go in as a wide receiver. So it's just good to see him do well. And
the last guy, because he has a 9.99 RAS.
Isaac Guerendo. I think I said his last name correctly. He had a 9.99 RAS. He had the fastest 40 time among running backs with a 4.33. And he... Do I think he's going to go any earlier than day 3?
I don't think so. No,
I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
But when you're trying to take a shot, a guided dart throw on a player, why not take it on Isaac Guerendo? Unless he starts really shooting up boards like unnecessarily. But I mean, everything he did it at an elite level. And he came out of what college did he come out of again?
Louisville?
It was Louisville, right? Yeah. So he was pretty consistently productive at Louisville, and he transferred out of Wisconsin, where he actually like would compete with JT and stuff, like when they were doing 40 times and things, because he was known as like a track star.
Wisconsin?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I think he's that's
fun.
Yeah, but he was like a true freshman, I think, when JT was coming out and going into the NFL. But yeah, anyways, it was fun to see him do well at the combine. Nice to see his name rise, because we've heard whispers of him. Obviously, if you're like a Brett Coleman fan, you're going to hear a lot about Isaac Guerendo, because he was kind of one of their sleeper calls. But it was fun to see that happen for him.
Yes. All right. Lots of other guys that improved their stock yesterday, but those are the highlights for us from a Dynasty Fantasy Football perspective. We're going to have rookie content for you all week. So if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football and you need to get an advantage in your leagues, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop a like on this video as well. And also, if you play Dynasty and you aren't a member over at flockfantasy.com/domain, use code domain when you sign up. You get a team blueprint. You get all of our exclusives, including our Discord. You get one-on-one access to us. You get our rookie draft guide for 2024, which will be updated this week with all of this new information and our brand new rankings. So flockfantasy.com, make sure you use code domain when you sign up. The link is in the description of this video if you want to join us over there, and it will count towards Mother Flocker March. If we get 100 signups in March, we're staying up all night and doing a live stream. So we are happy if that happens, but kind of hoping it doesn't, because it's going to be miserable. But it's all for the content. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.